Sorry if you hear anything else in the background. My sister's playing around with her friends. Quickly clean up all my stuff here. Should have started Houdini before this, sorry. Okay, so that's just, it's just automatically linking my sim up. So let's take a look here. Yep, okay. Your timesing it by that. Yep, okay, yep, you already know this. Don't know why you're blasting out an area. I think you must have... right, I say there. Okay, fair enough. Okay. You don't need to scatter stuff, by the way. You can just put it to a bound, really, and it will line up with the bounds of the thing, so you don't need to scatter anything. We'll keep the scatter though, because I want to scatter on the density, and I actually want to get the density attribute. But it's not actually going to give me the density attribute, so I'm going to quickly, I want to visualize how dense this is currently. And I can do that by doing a point swap, making the first one into there, the second one into the volume itself. I can lay down a volume sample. Sample position is whatever position I am currently at. I'm going to connect it to my color. It's going to be the second input. As you can see, it's now highlighted up. I can set it to the first primitive, or I can just say density. So now I can actually view how dense this is with like that. So I can see that it just goes up to 1. Cool. I am going to cache this out because it does take a little time to sim, well, to push out. So I think I've already cached this one out. It's going to link it up anyway, but so what do you go on? 0.04. I'm going to put it right at the end here, and I'm just going to recache it. Ugh. It looks different, does it? Interesting. Have you got... okay, so I'll show you my settings for my display, and we'll see if that helps in any way. I'm just going to let this cache out first before I do that. My poor computer's working overtime today. Okay, cool. Let it just think about it for a second. Okay, so I've got, under my material properties, I tend to have this on pixels. That's the only change that I have to this, really. That's just a display thing there. Nothing different there. Nothing. The lighting may be different, so if you have different lighting, it could affect it. But because I've got no lights in the scene currently, it's not going to affect itself. If I hit D and I go down to my, where is it? So I've got, well, that shouldn't affect the volume there, the reflections. That's new. I've never actually seen that, my bad. Interesting. Looks like I'm missing a few things. I've got volume quality on normal, but that shouldn't be different. Let me know if there's anything different that you can actually see. The viewport, this display option seems to have changed since I last used it, like a few days ago. Just the layout, really. I do have HDR rendering on. That can have some effect. And I do have a gamma correction on as well. But you should have that as by default. Go down to my lights. These are all the same. So the fog is where I would normally think this is, but it doesn't seem to be. Not to mention we've got this thing here, which is new. This texture viewport, because we used to have a different view here, and we could put in just how many points this would have, but it seems to be different. Oh no, here it is. My bad. Never seen this before, but I believe this is just for the possibly it could be for the, where is it? The composite view. So background, I just set mine to dark because I can't stand light, I can't stand grey, so I put mine to dark. Texture, so some people have got this limit resolution on. I turn that off, and I've got it onto full HDR as well, although it's not making much of a difference to my viewport. Is there anything different at all? Because those are the only changes that I might have to you. Let's jump into this first. So I'm just going to stop that for now. And this is using the smoke solver. Yep, I am going to turn off the static object for now. I'm going to... You don't need the static object anymore. That'll slow your sim down anyway. And I'm actually just going to raise this up quickly. Whoops. Just to see it a bit faster for now. And I forgot to put the ground in, so I'm going to remerge that ground back in because I do want the ground. I don't want the static object anymore because we're using this method. That's the wrong method, but there is a better collision method that I showed in the video, so I recommend you use that one instead, just because it increases the speed of your simulation like times 10 almost. Okay, so that's what it just looks like on a low resolution. I like that personally, but we do need to have it at a high resolution, so I'm just going to quickly go to the sparse solver as well, because that's what you were having trouble with mainly. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to delete these two things. I'm going to keep that actually. So I'm going to say smoke, object sparse, check that in there, and smoke solver sparse. chuck that into there. So it is weird, the new sparse solver. I don't exactly like it that much. I have to admit, I don't enjoy it at all. Just because of how different it is and how limited it seems to be in being able to really dive in. But I just could be wrong. Okay. So at a low resolution it works. But your problem was the fact that it wasn't working when you had a higher resolution. So let's do that. Also, when you're bringing in, as a side note, so okay, you don't have velocity in here. So there's no velocity. When you bring in velocity though, just gonna quickly bring in, show you what the velocity looks like. And you change it to vector, and so on. I tend to use the dot mask of density on it as well. It just gives it a bit of a finer edge and doesn't mean that there's just velocity hanging out there on the side. Plus it just makes it look better overall. Okay, so let's just times it by 1, and let's kill my computer, shall we? So that kind of looks right, I think. The velocity, the density is staying there, in a sense. It's a bit of you. Let's just go out into our dot import thing here. So we're going to get smoke sim 1 here, like so, and we're getting all those values. Cool. And I'm going to turn off this max res, turn down the density. Okay. So really the fact, let me think. Annoyingly, because this comes out as a sparse object, you still can't really see it. But let's try. So I'm going to lay down a convert VDB, because I need to convert to VDB quickly. And I just want to visualize it, so tree visualize. And it's not visualizing anything. Alright, because I need to turn it into a VDB there, not bad. And as you can see, it's coming out like that. If I do the same for this one though, which should be going to the smoke object, looks a little different, doesn't it? But that is just how I really should have just okay. Let's plug that in there and we'll see. And it's still doing it because I'm pretty sure the VDB is pruning it somehow. This is coming out basically filled completely, and as is this, which is really annoying because it should on Fury come out as a VDB, but it's not, just to mess with my life. So let's dive in here quickly. I'm going to make a few changes to this. I'm going to add back in the collision, so I'm going to copy this like so. I'm going to merge. I'm going to plug this into the forces. So this is the collision. I'm going to just say, yep, just set it as collision, like so. And if you recall from the video, this node does not like separated volumes, I believe. So I'm going to have to do something fancy here, and I don't want it to link out to that. I want to link it to this, which you have locked, although I'm pretty sure I've got it already. Yep, I've already got it. Except, you know, I haven't simmed it all, I haven't cached out the entire thing. So let's just take a look how much have I cached of that. 34 frames. Brilliant. So I'm going to quickly cache out 35 and a bit more, and I'm going to turn off the missing frame report error thing, because that is pretty annoying when you're trying to run a simulation, because the simulation will just crash if you do that. And all this is the VDB from Polygons doing its job. It's just going to take a long time because it is quite a dense geometry, and it has to figure out if this geometry is close enough, will it connect? If so, then connect it. So I'm not going to do much, because my computer will probably die if I try and do a large sim currently, because it is trying to compress a few things. Not to mention I've got like 70 tabs open in Chrome to do programming with, but that's beside the point. Yeah, that'll do me, really. I don't need a ton of this, so I'm going to just copy that. I'm going to go back into here to my smoke sim, hit escape so it doesn't sim it, link that up, and then I need to go back up to here, and I need to convert my surface to a volume. I don't want to convert my velocity though, because the velocity needs to be a free vectored, just a vector attribute, so this can view it. Otherwise it doesn't view it, which is really annoying. And now we should have collisions from here coming in just way faster than originally. So although it's not very visible right now, the collision is working. If you want to visualize it, we can go down and just turn on the collision object here. Yep, you can see it's working, and it's basically like killing anything inside here. So that's good. And these should be following the trail. There's some weird blocking there, but I have a feeling that's because of the collision. So let's just turn it on quickly just to check. Like, it's just very straight. That's a bit weird for me. Yeah, so it is actually just being hit, as well as the fact that it's got that going on there. And you can see the floor. Just sim out a few more frames and we'll see if that helps. So it's not quite leaving much of a trail, which is annoying, but that is because of the collision that's happening. What I tend to do is not emit density, but emit temperature, so that the temperature then emits density from itself. You can't redo that with the sparse solver. You can do that with the old one. So I'm going to switch back and do that there because I want to try and get this looking right. Just going to jump back, hit escape because it's trying to cook something. It's cooking that thing up there. So you've got that. I'm going to paste in my collision. Cool. And instead of density, I'm just going to say yes, inject it into the temperature, and I'm just going to lower the buoyancy a little bit because I don't want it to just explode. I'm also going to apply density to density as well, so that's I'm adding two fields really. Hit save and click on simulate. And I tend to use this option because it's actually quicker to just jump to a frame. Mainly with RBD objects, not so much with the smoke object, but it does give a small amount of speed because then the OpenGL doesn't have to put it to the GPU memory and render it to your viewport. And in some cases, as you can see here, it looks like it's actually faster than the. Oh well, that would explain it because it's got 0.3 on it. It's like 1.18. So I'm going to turn off the collisions for now, and I'm also going to turn off these just quickly. So I want it to run nice and fast. And fast is not normally in this vocabulary. I don't need to delay the frames at all, so I'm just going to set that to 0 because the tracking object is going to track for us. It does look like it's clipping it, but it's not. So currently what we're viewing here is the smoke, just the density itself really. So I'm going to quickly stop it because I want to view the temperature as well. do that, I'm going to turn off density, turn on multi-field, and plug in density and density here. This just gives it like a fake shading effect. And I'm going to turn on temperature. As you can see, now we're getting some temperature. And it's not really emitting a great deal of smoke, is it? So let's quickly fix that. I'm going to make a pyro solver. The only reason I'm doing that is because I can get access to this thing. I'm going to keep that to 1 combustion, and what I'm going to do is, instead of density to density, I'm going to say copy this to fuel. I've lost a viewer. Doesn't seem to be emitting a great deal of smoke, which is annoying. So even if I turn it down, the smoke is quite minimal. So let's say emit great dense smoke sort of thing from here, and I'm just going to lower this down again so that it's quite fast. And I'm also going to say density to density, just because I can. And I'm going to turn this back up to about 3. So we're getting a greater deal of density now, but that is because I've got like a lower resolution sort of thing. It doesn't seem to be moving upwards, which is nice. It's technically what I want. And the reason it's not really advecting upwards is because I set it to copy. So if I change that from copy to add, which is probably not going to be my smartest move I've done today. To be fair, I haven't done very smart moves. I actually prefer the original smoke solver because I've got more settings that I can use, and it's easier, and sometimes it's faster to create stuff in. So we're getting quite a pull down here. This is because the gravity is really pushing it down. If I set like the burn rate and the fuel inefficiency and I change these settings sort of thing, then it would like if I turned on advect fuel, it'll advect the fuel quite drastically. But I just want to visualize this a little bit easier. So that's basically the inner workings of it. So the main temperature core is in there, sort of thing, and it's spreading out quite a lot of density to it, which is quite nice. I'm going to start plugging a few things back. So I'm going to plug in the gas turbulence. I'm just going to quickly take a look at your values and what you're using as your values. So turbulence, 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 and your vortex. Okay, so some things to think about. Always in the turbulence use the control fields sort of thing. Move that up to always be controlled. and because it's the control field is the density, it's going to be mainly there on the density. You can change this, and it's normally advised too. So basically, wherever the density is the strongest, then it'll have a max influence. It'll put the density, the difference on there. I don't tend to use that. I tend to use velocity, but velocity is a vector field and not a float field, and we need a float field. So what I'm going to do is, let's just take a look. What I want to do is dive into, so we don't want the OpenCL one because that's just that this is the OpenCL code. This runs on the GPU. I'm going to dive inside to here, my compute turbulence sort of thing, and we should have a control field. If you use control field, then use this control field, and it'll use that control field for it. Let me just figure out where this control field is. So it's fitting whatever this one is here. So fitting the force scale with the control field sort of thing, and let's take a look here. I basically wanted to measure my density wherever my density is coming into. I've got to figure out where my density is going into. So let's just jump back out. Control field is parameter of control field. So do we have a control field anyway? Let's use control field. Data bindings, here we go. No, that's just binding it out to what it's putting out. So I do actually need to find the control field option. So the way we can do that is I can edit my parameter interface, go to control settings, use control field. Nope, it's control field, this one. Yep. And normally I could just go to channels and just see what's in there, but it's not showing me, which is rather annoying. So I have a feeling if I go into type properties, then it should show me. Yep, there we go. Control field goes to the compute. So oops, I'm just going to copy that, load up Notepad. So it's going into here, under my compute turbulence, in this node here, bind data 1. This is this one here, control field, and it's as you can see, it's val currently. If I go back out and I say that, then we have it's going to the val. Right, okay, got that one sorted. So that means the vex parameter is the force scale that's coming in. So this one here is what it is using. So instead of this, I can just say length. It's going to calculate the length of the vector there. I'm also going to fit range it because the velocity could be quite big. I'm going to set it to about 5, like so. Going to jump out. I'm going to copy this just quickly. I'm going to cut this and I'm going to copy it again. And the reason is because I want to have this copy just there. I'm just going to quickly rearrange this, and I'm going to change these settings to match up with this one. Yep. Okay. So all it's going to do now is it's going to use that as the control of the turbulence, and you'll hopefully get a bit of a better result. But we're not going to see it because I still don't have high enough resolution. So I'm going to set it to about 0.09. This is a technique that I just picked up from Sabre, where you put the initial division value and you just times it by a certain amount. So that way, if you're doing low res tests, you can just times it, but you always know what your final resolution value will be. Typically, I just recommend using the old pyro and smoke solvers from the sparse solvers, because, to be honest, they aren't up to scratch just yet. They really need a lot of work done on them, and they just aren't up there yet. So. So now we're getting a bit of turbulence there, and it's being run by the velocity. However, if you really want to see it, make sure that it is actually working, because it kind of doesn't look like it's working. I'm going to dive back in here, and I'm going to say fit range between 1 and 1. That way it's just not going to change it at all. Better yet, I can just get rid of that. So that way it depends on how, so that way it's always just going to be whatever value is coming in as the length. Okay. A little weird why it visualizes those now and then, because it really shouldn't be, but it is. I think that's just the viewport glitch. My bad. There we go. Is there any questions so far? Have I lost you on anything? Just making sense? Yeah, so I'm unfamiliar with who the viewport thing. Right. Okay. I am unsure about your viewport thing, your viewport issue. But I could actually have a LUT in my viewport. I'm gonna quickly check. And you're not viewing any like. So I'm going to get rid of that sphere for now. I'm just going to quickly add a light, just so that I can see the smoke better. There we go. Cool. You can also just add the density thing there, and it will kind of. Oops, I think I'm in orthographic mode. I am. My bad. That tends to help. With your viewport issue, let's take a look. Take a look at my preferences, shall we? So I'm just going to quickly check to see where the LUT part is. Because I could actually have a LUT installed and not realize it. I shouldn't though, because okay, so if you could send me a screenshot. So if I go to here, to this, just to view this thing, can you send me a screenshot of what you've got? Huh, that is very weird, just so that people can see. That's not good at all. Okay, Okay, let me think. Do you have the ability for me to remote the desktop into your computer just to see your settings and just to compare them with mine quickly? Version of Houdini is 18.0.502. Oops. Well, what version of Houdini do you have? because we can go to the change logs to take a look. So it's Houdini 18. We want to look at the, could be these two, or it could be the OpenGL, really. Ideally it would be volumes, but there's no volumes here. So let's take a look at the OpenGL quickly. 348. Okay. Improved viewpoint fog. Remove. So 348. So basically, we're trying to find a bug. This is your version. Okay. So fixed the bug. Fixed where huge point clouds. That's not what you have. Not what you have. Not what you have. So we're going to go all the way up to 502 because that's what I have. So, nope, nope, nope. Maybe. It shouldn't be. Nope, 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 nope. 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 So it shouldn't be any of that. Let's go back to just all. Just go submit. Now we're going to get a whole heap of things. So I could just say volume, really, and it may find us something to do with volumes, but I do doubt it. That's USD. None of these should be the issue that you're seeing in your scene, but I would recommend updating. So I'm pretty sure you know how to get like the daily builds and stuff. When a Houdini version comes out, it's always good to get the latest Houdini version. Even though I'm on like 5.2, it's always good to get the latest Houdini version. The only things that you have to watch out for when updating to like the latest Houdini version would be, so if I went to like Redshift sort of thing, and I sign in, what happens is they create a version for it. So basically it creates like the main render engine, and it creates plugins. So it's got plugins for Maya, Max, Houdini, Cinema 4D, sort of thing like that. Problem with this is that they only build it once when they have a new version, which means that if Houdini updates to a new iteration, and the new iteration is if this first value here changes from like a 4 to a 5 or a 5 to a 6, then all of a sudden the plugin won't work. Redshift for some reason has now started paying attention to its customers, and now gives like production builds here, but that's just Redshift. So any other plugins you might have? So let's take a look at my plugins, shall we? I'm just going to my Houdini 18. So I have 2 plugins. I've got Arnold and V-Ray. I've also got the Side Effects Labs here, which I should update soon. This is going to look very different to yours, by the way. Just because I've got a few extra things like OTLs, different configs, the Python libraries. Those are the differences I should have. I can delete that one actually. Wait, where's the hang on. Unsure where that's just gone, so I'm gonna undo that and bring back my that, because that should still be there, and now I'm concerned. For some reason it seems to be going into the scripts. Okay, so I was concerned about that. What have I done there? You just use Redshift? Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so if you're going to use that, then grab the custom builds, because you're going to need it. I'll wait on here for you to download and to confirm to see if that actually fixed it. If it didn't, then I'm going to see if I can take over your computer for a few seconds just to see if I can find anything that I'm doing wrong that is making your scene look like that, because that is very weird. While I just wait, I'm just going to quickly debug another student's file who's not online, but where is it? Okay, that's a little weird. Why is that not working? Although he is using it completely wrong. Oh no, he's not. Let's take a look. So at PT9. Oh wait. Yep, he's using that. So I'm going to say I at is equal to random at PT9 plus seed. So I'm going to call this geoseed. That doesn't like it because I put that there. So now we're getting a random because that's an integer. If I set that to float, then we're getting proper randomness. So I'm going to set that to integer. I want to fit range this from 0 to 1 to 0 to say 5. Getting differing values. I'm going to quickly floor it. Now we're getting different values, and I'm going to int it just in case something's going on there. Nope, that's different. So how is this any different? Let's take a look. Well, it helps that he's timesing it, I suppose. So let's try what happens here if I times it. No, that should still be the same. However, if it's like 1, 2, 3, no. So I'm unsure as to why this is differing to whatever this is. So if I say, yeah, it's geoseed, something, I'm going to say, I add something. Yes, we're getting different values. Why is this one not getting different values? So let's rewrite this. So int for random. We're going to say at pt9. Let's channel float seed. Actually, I'm going to times it like he is. I forgot to put that there. Say like that. So I at equals like so. I'm going to say random. That. Oh mate, your seed's at like 0. You can't have just that, you need to have it at plus. Okay, so that was what he had wrong. Fair enough. Okay, so now that's going to give us differing values along across the whole thing. If I get rid of that, now, and I say show all. Now we're getting different values along here. Cool. However, he is still not the same. Okay, I'm quickly going to message this user very quickly, and I'll get back to you. Okay, would I be able to quickly just take a look at your computer, like remote desktop in? So in the past I've used, whoops, where is it? In the past I've used this, the Google one. However, if you do allow me to like remote desktop in, then just message me on Discord so that it'll be easier to well, you're not like displaying public information everywhere, so everyone can just get on. Or if you don't want me to do that, let's just go over the settings that we have for each of them. So the first one, whoops, why can't I make this bigger? There we go. Oh wow, that's how big it's going to get. Okay, let's go to the text one first, because that normally is what could do it. Just make sure yours is like the same as mine. Okay, so Marcel, just for other viewers out there, is about to have his power cut off for electrical work. So, yeah, we can continue this on when you're able to. It's all good, Marcel. So, oh, I've been live streaming for an hour. Wow, okay, that's pretty impressive. So when Marcel gets back, then I'll resume the live stream, and we'll try and figure out what's going on. Hope it all goes well over there. And